Have you ever stood on a warehouse floor just watching it all happen? You see forklifts buzzing around, people are moving, everything looks busy, and you think, man, we are absolutely firing on all cylinders. But then you get the financial report, and you realize you're barely breaking even. So, let's get into this, because today we're tackling the busy warehouse paradox, how an operation that looks so incredibly active can secretly be leaking profits left and right.
And this, right here, this is the million-dollar question, isn't it? It is such a frustrating mystery for so many managers. You see all that motion, all that energy. So why isn't it translating into a healthy bottom line? We're going to break down exactly why this happens, and more importantly, what you can actually do about it.
And this slide just perfectly nails the problem. On one side, you've got your overtime costs, just creeping up, maybe even skyrocketing. Your team is putting in all these extra hours. But then you look at the other side and the number of orders actually getting out the door, it's flat. It's not going up. And that gap, that imbalance, that's exactly where your profit vanishes. It's just activity without real productivity.
So to solve this, we've got to find the source of the problem. I want you to think of your warehouse's profit like water in a bucket. From a distance, it might look pretty full, but up close, you'd see all these little hidden drains, these tiny leaks that are just silently siphoning away your money. Our job is to find them.
And you know, the crazy thing is how common these drains are. First off, having no labor standards basically means you're flying blind. You don't know what good even looks like. Then you've got poor overtime planning. That's when you're paying premium wages for work that's just poorly scheduled, not for actual surges in business. And then there's equipment misuse, a lack of KPIs, key performance indicators, to even track it. Plus all that classic process waste. You know, the extra walking, the waiting around, having to redo work. Every single one is just a slow, steady leak.
Okay, so the situation might sound a little bleak, but here's the good news. You can act on this stuff today. We're moving into what I like to call the first aid section. These are immediate, practical steps you can take to stop the financial bleeding and see a difference right away.
So here's how it works. First, you start tracking overtime against your output every single day. You make that connection impossible to ignore. Second, set some simple labor benchmarks. They don't have to be perfect, just a starting point. Third, actually watch your forklifts. Are they making these long, pointless trips with a single pallet? Fourth, you have to enforce your maintenance schedule to prevent that expensive downtime. And fifth, walk the floor yourself and find those wasted steps you can eliminate. Seriously, these are all things you could start tomorrow morning.
So how do you take a vague goal, like be more efficient, and make it real? When we say set labor benchmarks, what does that actually look like on the floor? Well, it can be as simple as this: 80. A standard of 80 picks per hour. And that one number, it's incredibly powerful. It replaces a fuzzy idea with a clear, measurable target that the whole team can understand and work toward. It's not a suggestion anymore. It's the goal.
Okay, so we've applied the first aid. We've stopped the bleeding. But you know, a bandage doesn't fix the underlying issue. Now we have to shift from those quick fixes to building really robust systems that create a culture of efficiency and continuous improvement for the long haul.
Now these are the strategies that create change that actually lasts. So instead of just a simple benchmark, you implement a full labor standards system that's based on real data. You start tracking the ultimate metric, your cost per order. You establish clear KPIs for your equipment. You adopt proven lean methods like 5S, and, this is absolutely critical, you make it a habit by holding monthly reviews to talk about what's working and what's not. Let's just park on cost per order for a second, because this is so important. This is not just another number on a spreadsheet. It's the real story of your warehouse's efficiency. It tells you exactly how much it costs in labor and equipment to get one single customer order out the door. Once you know this number, you can manage it, and when you manage it, you control your profitability. It's that simple.
All right, we've covered the theory, we've talked about the systems. Now let's get really practical. Let's apply these principles to some of the toughest, most common questions that managers face out there in the real world.
Okay, here it is. The classic scenario we started with. The overtime bill is climbing, but you're not shipping any more product. The panic starts to set in. So what's your first move?
Here's your action plan. First, don't just cut overtime blindly. Analyze it. Where is it happening the most? Is it all coming from one department? Then you have to investigate the why. Is there a bottleneck somewhere? Like everyone's waiting for stock to arrive, and that's causing the delays. Before you approve even one more hour of OT, see if you can rebalance the workload. And finally, start planning your shifts based on actual order data, not just a gut feeling. This is about being surgical, not just taking a sledgehammer to your costs.
Next up, let's talk about those really expensive pieces of equipment, like your forklifts. They're critical assets, but they are so often used inefficiently, more for convenience than for actual productivity. So how do you tackle that?
The key here is to start treating your equipment like the valuable asset it truly is. Start tracking trips. Is a driver really taking one single pallet all the way across the warehouse? Yeah, we're going to ban that. Make preventative maintenance completely non-negotiable, and then you measure everything. Set clear KPIs for utilization and downtime. The data itself will show you the patterns of misuse, and then you can take action.
Now, this can feel like the hardest question of them all, right? If you've never measured performance before, bringing in standards can feel really intimidating for you and for your team. So where do you even begin?
You start simple. Don't go hiring expensive consultants for some massive time study, not yet anyway. Just watch your best people. What are they capable of on a good day? Use their performance to set a reasonable baseline. Then, and this is key, communicate clearly. This is not about punishment, it's about fairness and having a clear goal for everyone. Introduce it gradually, measure the performance every day, and talk about the results with your team. Remember, it's about evolution, not revolution. Okay, final question for this section. You're committed. You're gonna improve efficiency. To do that, you have to measure what matters. So what are the handful of KPIs that are gonna give you the most bang for your buck, the most control over your costs?
Think of this as your new command dashboard. For labor, you absolutely have to know your cost per order and your overtime percentage. For equipment, you need to track utilization, how much are you actually using it, and its maintenance cost per machine. These 4 metrics right here, they give you a powerful, at-a-glance view of the real financial health of your operation.
And really, it all boils down to this one simple idea. You just can't manage what you don't measure. The second you start tracking these key numbers, your cost per order, your equipment efficiency, all that hidden waste suddenly has nowhere to hide. The data itself will point you right to your biggest opportunities for improvement.
So, we've seen that true efficiency, the kind that lasts, it's not a one-time project with a beginning and an end. It's a continuous process. And that leads us to the final and maybe the most important question of all. After everything we've talked about, what is the one thing, the one metric that you are going to commit to measuring when you walk into your warehouse tomorrow?